In March this year, a litre of jet fuel cost airlines 60.5 rupees. By May, just 8 weeks later, it had hit 142 rupees. This is not a price increase, that is a price explosion. Jet fuel, the single biggest cost for every Indian airline, more than doubled in 2 months. And here is what that means in simple terms. When fuel doubles, airlines have two choices: ground flights or make your tickets more expensive. Both were happening. And then 12 days ago, the cabinet met and the government did something it has never done before in the history of Indian aviation. It put 10,000 crore rupees between you and the most expensive flight prices this country could have ever seen. If you have been watching this channel for the last few weeks, you already know the pieces of the story. We covered why ATF is the hidden tax making Indian flights expensive. We covered how states like Delhi and Maharashtra finally cut their VAT rates. And we covered why the recently resolved West Asia crisis is hitting Indian aviation harder than almost anywhere else. This video is where all of those pieces come together. Because what the cabinet approved on June 3rd is not just a news headline, it is the biggest single intervention the Indian government has ever made in aviation. And whether it actually helps you meaning the person buying the ticket, is a more complicated answer than the press release suggests. Let's break it down. Part 1. How bad did it actually get? To understand why the government spent 10,000 crores, you need to understand what was actually happening to airlines in April and May. Start with the fuel number: 60.5 rupees per litre in March and then 142 per litre by May. A 135% spike in 8 weeks. That kind of move doesn't just hurt margins, it breaks business plans entirely. Airlines had budgeted for one fuel price and they were suddenly paying more than the double. And then the Pakistan airspace closure made it worse. Since the closure, Indian carriers flying to Europe, the UK, North America and Central Asia have had to take longer routes, going south and west through the Gulf instead of directly over Pakistan. Longer routes mean more flying time, and more flying time obviously means more fuel burned per flight. Airlines were absorbing this for weeks. Then they couldn't anymore. Fares on international routes started rising sharply and some services were quietly cut. And the Federation of Indian Airlines, the body that represents Indigo, Air India and SpiceJet, wrote to the government and used the phrase nobody expected: the industry is on the verge of closing down. That letter landed and the cabinet responded. Part 2. What the 10,000 crore actually does. Here is how this works, and it is a bit different from what most people think. The government is not giving 10,000 crore rupees directly to airlines, it is giving it as an interest-free advance to oil marketing companies. Indian Oil, BPCL, HPCL, the companies that actually produce and sell jet fuel to airlines. The way it works is this. The government sets a benchmark price for ATF. Whenever the international market price goes above that benchmark, which it has been doing aggressively since March, the OMC absorbs the difference instead of passing it fully to the airline, and the government compensates the OMC for the loss using this fund. The result: airlines get fuel at a more stable, predictable price, not the cheapest one but not the 142 rupee shock price either. And this arrangement runs for up to 3 years. Airlines that opt in have to commit to buying fuel from participating OMCs for that period. So this is not a one-time relief measure, it is a structural fix designed to last through the duration of the crisis. On top of this, the government also has a separate 5,000 crore rupee emergency credit line for airlines, essentially low-cost loans for carriers that need working capital right now. And airport landing and parking charges for domestic routes have already been cut by 25%. So this is not one intervention, it is a package of 3 happening simultaneously. Part 3, the part nobody is talking about. Here is the honest complication. This 10,000 crore rupees is not a gift, it is an advance. The government has built in a recovery mechanism, which means that when global ATF prices come back down, the OMCs will pay back what they received. The fund gets recovered through a formal true-up process. What does that mean in practice? It means that the government is essentially smoothing the curve. Instead of airlines getting hit with 142 rupees per litre today and 60 per litre tomorrow, they get a more stable middle price across the 3 years. That is good for airlines, good for planning and good for avoiding sudden fare spikes. But notice what is not. It is not a guarantee that your ticket price falls. Airlines were already running thin margins before this crisis, and some of the savings from the stabilization fund will go into recovering the losses from April and May. Some will go into balance sheets. Whether it reaches your fare depends entirely on whether there is enough competition on your route to force prices down. Part 4, why this matters beyond the money. Step back from the rupee figure for a moment. What the government just said with this intervention is something new. It said that aviation is not just a luxury industry, it is infrastructure, it is connectivity, it is 77 lakh jobs across airlines, airports, ground handling, hospitality, and travel agencies. And it is not something India can afford to let fail during a geopolitical crisis it did not create. That is a meaningful shift. For years, the aviation sector fought the government on ATF taxes, GST inclusions, slot regulations. The relationship was often adversarial. What happened in June 2026 is the government stepping in decisively, quickly, and at a scale India has never seen in aviation to keep the industry operational during an external shock. The Civil Aviation Minister said it plainly. This fund is designed to maintain strong connectivity for every Indian, including to Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities. Udan routes, regional connectivity, smaller airports, all of it depend on airlines being able to fly profitably enough to keep those routes alive. When fuel doubles, those thin routes are the first to go, and this fund is partly a protection for them. Now, what it means for you. If you are booking a flight in the next few weeks, this fund has stabilized the situation. The sharp upward pressure on fares that was building through April and May has been partially relieved. You are unlikely to see fares spike as aggressively as they were heading. But do not expect prices to fall dramatically either. Airlines have losses to recover and global crude is still elevated. And the Pakistan airspace is still closed, which means international routes are still burning more fuel than they were 6 months ago. The most honest way to think about it is this. Without this fund, your fares in June and July were heading significantly higher. With it, there is a ceiling. The floor, though, the point where prices actually come down to where they were in February, that is not here yet. Book now if you need to fly, wait if you can, and watch what happens to crude prices over the next 60 days. Because this fund helps only as long as the crisis holds at its current level. If things escalate further, which I am hoping they don't, even 10,000 crore has limits. The government just made the biggest financial commitment in the history of Indian aviation. 10,000 crore rupees, 3 years, a structured plan to stop fuel prices from breaking the industry and your ticket. Now here is my question for you. Do you think this money will actually reach passengers as lower fares, or will airlines use the breathing room to fix their own balance sheets first? Tell me in the comments, I genuinely want to know what you think. New video every Thursday at 7 pm. Like, share and subscribe so you don't miss it. See you in the next one.